Here we go!
Welcome back to the Nintendo Power Zone, and guys, we are back with another quick hit video. And today the Pokemon Company gave us the long-awaited details on Pokemon Home and its functionality. And guys, it's really something else, isn't it? Before we, dive into how I feel about the service, let's go ahead and find out a little bit more about the service itself. Pokemon Home is a cloud service for Nintendo Switch and compatible mobile devices designed as a place where all Pokemon can gather. By linking the same Nintendo account to both the Nintendo Switch version and mobile version of Pokemon Home, you'll be able to access the same Pokemon boxes on both versions. With Pokemon Home, you can move Pokemon between compatible games, trade on the go, and more. Move Pokemon to Pokemon Home. The Nintendo Switch version of Pokemon Home supports connectivity with the Nintendo Switch games Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Both the Nintendo Switch version and mobile device version of Pokemon Home support connectivity with the 3DS software Pokemon Bank. There are plans to support Pokemon Go in the future as well. Connect with Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield can link to the Nintendo Switch version of Pokemon Home. Once the games are linked, you can deposit or retrieve Pokemon that can be obtained using those games. Connect with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee can link to Nintendo Switch version of Pokemon Home. You can move Pokemon back and forth between Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee or into Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Once a Pokemon from Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Pokemon Let's Go Eevee is moved to Pokemon Sword or Shield, it cannot be returned to its original game. So right there you have your first major drawback of Pokemon Home. But I don't want to get into that too much right now. We'll discuss that in just a bit. Connect with Pokemon Bank. If you're enrolled in a premium plan, paid, you'll be able to move Pokemon from Nintendo 3DS Pokemon titles to Pokemon Home using Pokemon Bank. Once a Pokemon from Pokemon Bank is moved into Pokemon Home, it cannot be moved back to Bank. To commemorate the release of Pokemon Home, we will make Pokemon Bank and Poke Transporter available at no cost for a 1-month period after Pokemon Home is released. You'll be able to bring Pokemon from various Pokemon series games using Pokemon Bank and Poke Transporter. Once you've got your Pokemon in Pokemon Bank, you'll then be able to move them into Pokemon Home. So that pretty much covers which games are going to be functional with Pokemon Home at launch. Let's go ahead and move into the next category, which is trading. Trade Pokemon. Use your mobile device to trade Pokemon anytime, anywhere. There are 4 ways to trade Pokemon using Pokemon Home on your mobile device. First one being Wonder Box. Pokemon placed in the Wonder Box can be traded with people around the world before you even know it. The Pokemon placed in the Wonder Box will be traded even when you're not using Pokemon Home. You'll be able to increase the number of Pokemon you can trade at once by enrolling in a premium plan. The next way to trade is the long anticipated return of the GTS. With the GTS, you'll be able to specify which Pokemon you want to trade and which Pokemon you want to receive, and then be matched with a trainer whose requests meet your criteria. You'll even be able to request Pokemon that you haven't yet registered in Pokemon Home's National Pokédex. You'll be able to increase the number of Pokemon you can trade at once by enrolling in a premium plan. Next up, we have Room Trade. Room Trade lets you create a room and trade Pokemon among the people who join. Each room can hold up to 20 people. To add a little suspense, you won't know what Pokemon you'll receive until the trade is complete. Trading in rooms has no cost, but you'll only be able to create rooms when enrolled in a premium plan. And last but not least, we have Friend Trade. Friend Trade allows you to trade your Pokemon with other users who you've become friends with in Pokemon Home. You can add friends using the Add Friend feature in Pokemon Home. The features related to adding and managing friends in Pokemon Home cannot be used by users under the age of 16. The last category that the website discusses is the More features. Pokemon Home is full of features that you can use to connect with games in the Pokemon series and more. National Pokédex. Pokemon will be registered to the National Pokédex when you deposit them in boxes in Pokemon Home. If you move a Pokemon that can Mega Evolve or Gigantamax, then these forms will be registered too. In the National Pokédex, you'll be able to see Pokédex entries from various different games in one place. With the mobile app version of Pokemon Home, you'll be able to see much more than just Pokédex entries. You'll also be able to check each Pokemon's abilities as well as the moves it can learn. Mystery Gifts. You can receive mystery gifts in the mobile device version of Pokemon Home. With this feature, you can receive mystery gifts for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, as well as gifts specifically for Pokemon Home. Pokemon received in Pokemon Home can be directly deposited in a box in Pokemon Home. That's fairly neat. I do enjoy getting mystery gifts in Pokemon games. I could totally see them utilizing Pokemon Home and its mystery gift function as a way to distribute Pokemon going forward in the future. You can also get some gifts such as items for Pokemon by receiving a code for a mystery gift in Pokemon Home and then using that code in Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield. Next up, we have Judge Pokemon. If you've enrolled in a premium plan, you'll have access to the Judge function, which allows you to check how strong your Pokemon are. Moving on, we have the Your Room. In your room, you'll be able to see all sorts of information about events or games you connected to Pokemon Home. You'll be able to edit your profile using stickers. You can obtain stickers when you meet certain conditions or perform certain tasks in Pokemon Home known as challenges. Moving on, we have battle data. In the mobile app version of Pokemon Home, you can check out how ranked battles and various online competitions in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield are going, as well as the rankings of Pokemon being used in them. By going to battle data, you'll be able to see the battle records of each trainer as well as information about what moves are popular among Pokemon in the competitions. Next up, we have news. In Pokemon Home for mobile devices, you'll be able to receive news about Pokemon being distributed as gifts and information about online competitions for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. And last but not least, we have Pokemon Home Points. Pokemon Home Points are points that accumulate in Pokemon Home as you deposit more Pokemon. When using the Nintendo Switch version of Pokemon Home, you'll be able to exchange your Pokemon Home Points for BP or Battle Points to be used in core Pokemon series games. So that pretty much covers the gamut of all the functions and features that are going to be available in Pokemon Home. Aside from that, they did put out an infographic that details which version of the app has access to what functions. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen for you guys right now. Okay, so now that we've discussed the functions and the features that will be available via Pokemon Home, it's time to go ahead and discuss the pricing model. There's 3 different tiers, very similar to how Nintendo Switch Online works, but also very different at the same time. So we have a 1-month plan that's 30 days. That's going to be $2.99 plus tax. Then you have your next plan, which is 3 months or 90 days at $4.99 plus tax. And then we have your annual plan, 12 months, 365 days for $15.99. So it's a tiered pricing system. You have options. There's also going to be a basic version of Pokemon Home available day 1. But as we're going to discuss now, there are things that are only accessible via the premium plan. So first up, just looking at the chart right now, we have moving Pokemon from Pokemon Bank. In the basic version, you will not be able to do that. It's only available in the premium version, so you have to pay a minimum of $2.99 to trade Pokemon from Pokemon Bank over to Pokemon Home, which essentially means that there is in fact a paywall to transfer Pokemon from the 3DS over to Pokemon Home and thus to Pokemon Sword and Shield. So right off the bat, I anticipate tons of people being highly upset by this. Moving on, the number of Pokemon that can be deposited in Pokemon Home in the basic plan is 30 Pokemon. Not 30 a day, not 30 a month. It literally just says 30 Pokemon. That's crazy. If you have the premium version, it doesn't matter which of the 3 plans, you can deposit up to 6,000. There is a very large discrepancy between the basic and the premium version. Next up, we have the number of Pokemon that can be placed in the Wonder Box at once. 3 Pokemon in the basic version, 10 Pokemon in the premium version. The number of Pokemon that can be placed in the GTS at once in the basic version is 1, and in the premium version 3, so not much of a discrepancy there. In the room trades, you can participate in the basic version, but with the premium version, you can participate and host. And the judge function is unavailable in the basic version and available in the premium version. So now that we've discussed all 3 of the payment options available for Pokemon Home, I want to go ahead and give you guys my thoughts about this because I feel very opinionated about this, and I haven't really felt very opinionated about anything in concern to Pokemon Sword and Shield. I've been fairly happy with the game and how it's progressed and what's been available to me in the core game itself. But this is the first time I feel some type of way, and it's because I honestly feel that the Pokemon Company grossly overvalued how much Pokemon Home is worth. When we look at these prices, they don't seem too bad. right? Especially the $2.99 price model for 30 days. But imagine if you would allow yourself to allow that to recur for a year. Well, after 12 months, you've spent $36, which is almost twice the value of the annual plan that's sitting there at $15.99. And if you were to allow the same thing to happen for the 3-month plan at $4.99, well then you're spending $19.96, which is still $4 higher than an annual plan. But what really kicks me is the annual plan. This is the price that bothers me the most because even though it's just that one-time recurring charge, you have to factor in the other things that you need in order to utilize this. You need a Nintendo Switch Online account. If you have an annual account, that's $19.99. Then you need to either buy Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield at $59.99, and then you need Pokemon Home itself at $15.99. This totals out to a grand total of $96.97 for these services. Not to mention that Pokemon Home is not as fully featured as Nintendo Switch Online. At least with Nintendo Switch Online, you get online functionality for a bevy of games. You get the NES Classic games, you get the Super NES Classic games, and you get the cloud services on top of that. So as much as people complain that Nintendo Switch Online isn't a very fully featured service, it's still more than you get for the $15.99 that they're asking you to spend on Pokemon Home. And let's not even talk about adding the DLC on top of that, which is going to be an additional $29.99. So now we're looking at over $100, like $130 to get everything Pokemon related for Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is really extravagant. Like, we're entering into territory that I am not happy with as a Pokemon fan. I feel like the Pokemon Company grossly overvalued what they should be charging for this. Pokemon Bank cost $4.99 a year, and it wasn't as fully serviced as this. But the services that they're offering here don't seem all that engaging. Like, there's no way to play with your Pokemon that they've discussed. It's nice to have the GTS back, but at this cost, I think that's grossly overvaluing what the GTS actually is. None of this seems right to me as far as the pricing model is concerned. And the fact that they're locking certain functions behind paywalls. Not being able to transfer from Pokemon Bank if you don't have the premium version. Why does this exist then? That's the whole point, is to trade Pokemon from Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home. This is what you've been advertising since day one, and you're locking that behind a paywall. There's no point in even offering a basic version. We're missing the functionality from Pokemon Go. Now, I know that's not going to matter to a whole bunch of people, but I know people that it does matter to, myself included. I enjoy Pokemon Go still to this day. I enjoy transferring Pokemon into various games. Like, I've transferred so many Melmetals into Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. The fact that once you traded Pokemon from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee into Pokemon Sword, that they are inaccessible again, it seems weird, especially since there's like this middle point in between. You're not just directly transferring from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to a new game. There's a whole bridge in between that still won't allow you to trade them back. I find that very odd. There's just so many things that I am unhappy with this service, and it really all boils down to the pricing. I feel like the pricing is not justified. Like, the judge function, that's already available within Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, granted, it would be nice to have it so that all the Pokemon from all the generations can be judged, but because you can't trade the majority of them over to Pokemon Sword and Shield, does that really matter at this point in time? Not really. So the judge functionality means nothing. It really means nothing. I know I sound more mad about this, but I'm really not that mad. It's mostly just a lot of disappointment that I'm feeling right now, and I'm having trouble like trying to put it into words. But yeah, I am extraordinarily unhappy with this. I just don't see where they see the value. Like, when they were determining the price point, how did they get to these prices? Another thing that really bothers me is I don't understand why these functions weren't just added to the Nintendo Switch Online. it's not uncommon for Nintendo and the Pokemon Company to share finances with one another. Every time a Pokemon game gets sold, Nintendo gets a cut, the Pokemon Company gets a cut. I don't understand why this had to be a separate service. These functions all seem like they could have been built into Nintendo Switch Online fairly easily. For what we have here, I feel like it could have been done. Maybe they just didn't want to play in Nintendo's infrastructure and they wanted to do their own thing, or they wanted maybe all the profits to themselves. Either way, there was some fuckery going around here, and I do not appreciate it. Fuckery is the right word. They just did not do what they should have done with this service, and it should have been a combined service. This should be part of Nintendo Switch Online. I'm hoping in the future Nintendo finds a way to combine the two services going forward so that there's one price model, not, for $36, but, like maybe $30 or $25, combine the two services, and that I totally buy into that. This right here, I'm only going to buy out of necessity, and I'm not going to be happy about it. That's the thing. I don't see how the Pokemon Company anticipates anyone being happy about having to make these purchases. Because I think you're going to really alienate a lot of the fan base. You've actually given them legitimate fuel for the fire, in my opinion. I think not having the full Pokedex caused a shitstorm, but I don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. People still bought Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. But here it feels like the promise that you've given them, you will be able to take all your Pokemon from previous generations and put them into Pokemon Home. It's very caveated by the fact that you added paywalls in order to do that. Severely unhappy. And the number of Pokemon that can be deposited at 30 in the basic version, I feel like you needed to expand upon that more. 30 a month, 30 a day, or 30 total. Because if it's 30 total, what is the point of even having the basic version? I said that before, I'll say it again. What is the point of having the basic version? This is all kinds of wrong. All kinds of wrong. All the hype that I had for Pokemon Home as a service evaporated, gone. Unhappy. I don't know what else I can say. I mean, I knew we were going to end up paying for this, but I feel like the prices that we discussed when we discussed the Pokemon Direct, those were more fair. $10 for an annual plan would have been a lot. You'd think that the $5.99 that they've added to that isn't all that much, but for the services that they've made available, I don't necessarily think that this is fair pricing. I just don't. The fact that all these things are locked behind paywalls, the fact that you're not even launching fully serviced, like no go functionality right out the gate, what's the point? What is the point? It is what it is. I am a little more upset about this than I felt like I would be, but now that I'm saying all this out loud, like, yeah, it gets me hot, it gets me heated. I don't know if I'm gonna want this service more than just 1 year. I hope they add more to it. The fact that it doesn't look like you can play with your Pokemon like you could in Pokemon Ranch, that's a big bummer to me. I know if me and Blues could have thought about it during the course of talking, for the podcast, why didn't they think about it? And if they did think about it, why wasn't just something that they decided, yes, let's add it? No, what they did add was the ability to judge your Pokemon. Ridiculous. I am so thoroughly dissatisfied with this service, and it isn't out yet. On top of that, they didn't even give a release date for when this is coming out. That must be the most egregious thing about all this. We're not telling you when it's coming out, just that it's coming out in February. Absolutely ridiculous. I didn't expect this to be available at launch, and I didn't think it would make it in the first month of the year, but I also didn't think that you'd be playing these games, dangling the carrot over our heads, bite down, and then you keep pulling that shit away, and then when you finally give it to us, it's not it's not what it needs to be right out the gate. And that's bad. That's really bad. But I think I've said my piece. I think I've said as much as I can say about this. Alright, yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to slide out, but I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I know that I'm a little bit hotter than I usually am in terms of like how I feel about this. But it is what it is. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to please like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. Remember that you can download new episodes of the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and stream new episodes on Spotify. Yeah, hit me up on Twitter at Nyceone983. Guys, that's it for me. I'm out. Deuces.